What is up, everybody? Thank you for checking out a new episode of the BarbacoaCore Podcast. I am your host, Patrick C. Huerta. Thank you for checking out the podcast. If I could ask a favor before we get into that, let me remind you or ask of you to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or SoundCloud or even the YouTube page. It would really help the show and connect the show. Broaden our visibility and help other people find out about the podcast. Like, share, subscribe to whichever platform that you use to listen to the BarbacoaCore Podcast. I very much appreciate that. You can contact the show at BarbacoaCore@yahoo.com for any questions or suggestions, or if you're interested in coming on the podcast to kind of like push and promote whatever it is that you have going on. Send an email there. I am kind of the only one that fucks with yahoo.com. BarbacoaCore@yahoo.com. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at BarbacoaCore Podcast. That is where I like to push and promote anything that the guests, past guests, or friends of the podcast have going on. I'll repost there on the Instagram page. So follow that to stay in the know of what's going on with everybody. With friends and past guests of the podcast. All info on me or the podcast itself, and all the links, places you can find the podcast, you can find on the website, www.barbacoacore.com. Check that out to stay in the know. And this episode, I want to dedicate it to Daniel Johnston. Today is September 11th. 2019, and Daniel Johnston died of a heart attack at the age of 58. I don't know if y'all know about Daniel Johnston. He's a genius, lo-fi singer-songwriter artist that suffered with manic depression. I don't even know. I don't have words to describe it. I didn't write anything down. I just know that I did want to dedicate this episode to Daniel Johnston. Just getting word of the news. It was pretty heavy day, pretty sad day. I did catch him. I was able to catch him at the Paper Tiger or White Rabbit. I don't know which one it was. What name it was under. A couple years back. It was a great experience to see him live and performing and all that good stuff. How I found out about Daniel Johnston is through a rock documentary, whatever you say, called The Devil and Daniel Johnston. If you don't know it, if you haven't seen it before, I recommend it, highly recommend it. It's a great documentary. This guy, Daniel Johnston, he knew that people wanted to know his story. He knew that there was something about him, his story, that he had something to say, something to tell, something to share with the world. And throughout his life, from a young kid all the way through, his adulthood, everything he documented. He took videos, audio recording. He documented his whole life. He coming up, from the 80s, 70s, 80s. 90s, throughout the whole music scene, his time in Austin with the Austin music scene, he's very well known with mainstream artists. They were huge fans of his. I think Kurt Cobain of Nirvana had one of his one of Daniel Johnston's shirts on at one of the music awards or something like that, and that's how people became recognized with the Daniel Johnston, the Jeremiah the Frog, and the Hi How Are You T-shirt of Daniel Johnston. Great artist. I really connected with a lot of the things, or he just connected with a lot of people through that documentary, the Devil and Daniel Johnston. So I recommend y'all checking that out. Look it up on YouTube or check out his music. Spotify, iTunes. Daniel Johnston. He passed away today of a heart attack at the age of 58. I was very sad to hear that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to, I mean, it's just a podcast, just the BarbacoaCore Podcast, but this is my avenue or whatever to kind of make a dedication to him, because he did help me out in a lot of hard times in my life. And I know he helps out a lot of people who kind of connect with him through his music, through his art. And just wanted to do my part in, saying thank you and dedicating this episode to him. Daniel Johnston, the Devil Daniel Johnston. Check it out on the interwebs or whatever. But back to our guest. Today I had a very funny local now. He's from Ohio, but he's a San Antonio resident now. Jeremy Brown, very funny dude. You'll get to know about him through this podcast, through the episode. Check him out, because he will be doing a lot of shows, and the dude's fucking hilarious. I'll put all his social media stuff. I'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, let's just get into the episode. What is up, everybody? Thank you for checking out a new episode of the BarbacoaCore Podcast. On today's episode, I have a very funny comedian, Jeremy Brown. What's up? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, man. Been wanting to have you sit down for a while, and then you got to do the LOL showcase last night.
Yep.
How did that go for you, man?
It was good. It was interesting because typically for the showcases, the room is completely packed. I walked in at the start of the show. I'm like, oh my God, the room is over half empty. What is going on? So I was just like, oh, well, we're just going to have fun. And then there was a table up front that was fantastic. Like you could tell they were there to laugh. They were having fun. We were interacting. I think I had a really good set. It was, some of my stuff would hit. It was really interesting. They were like, oh, everybody loved that joke. And then they're like, oh, I don't like that joke. But I would make fun of myself because that's just my style, and then kind of ride that wave over with it. It was a lot of fun. It was a good crowd. Everybody told me I ran long, but I was like, look, I promise I'm not trying to do anything. They said, I'm going to give you the light, and then you got a minute. I'm like, okay. After every joke, I'm looking over. I'm like, I'm not going to run long. Nope, no light, keep going.
Yeah.
And then I came down, and I was like, man, you went long. I'm like, not according to him. It doesn't matter if he's high. I went 8 minutes according to him. So yeah, it was a fun set though, man.
Yeah. No, you did pretty good. Yeah. He lights differently. Like, he'll flash it, but he doesn't wait for you to see if you saw him flash it.
Perfect.
So
that's definitely great if I'm going off your cue for you to not actually make sure I see it.
Yeah. Shit, we jump right into that. Let's do your plugs first.
Oh, yeah.
Social media, where can people find you? How do people find you? All that stuff.
Yeah, so Jeremy Brown, F-U-N-E, Jeremy Brown Fun E on Twitter and Instagram. If you are into Michigan or Detroit football, the UFC or the Bachelor franchise, you will absolutely love my Twitter feed. If you do not like those things, you should still follow me and then just immediately mute me. That'd be great.
Okay, so I was on board until you went to the Bachelor franchise.
Yeah, man.
The reality
Absolutely.
TV show?
Yeah, Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise, for sure. That's my jam.
That is your jam?
Absolutely.
Why?
It is people watching. You sit on your couch and you get to judge all of these people and their terrible decisions in life.
Yeah, but of all the reality shows or games, is it considered a reality game show, I guess?
Essentially, yeah.
Right? Okay.
The prize is love, but yes.
The prize is love, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Man, I've never heard anybody say that was their jam.
Oh, man, it's so much fun. And you get, look, it's garbage. I have no problem saying that. It's absolute garbage. I know producers have a lot to do with it. There's always somebody you know that's going to be terrible and everybody hates them and they're going to stay for way too long. That's fine. It is what it is. But it's a lot of fun. You get to, like, man, it's basically people watching, but you don't have to go to Walmart. You just sit on your couch and you can drink and have fun. Everybody's on it on social media. Like basically I'll watch it and just tweet jokes about what's going on, and then look at the hashtags and the retweets and likes from all these what I can only assume are lonely white women. And I'm like, okay, cool. I found my fan base. All right.
I get that. I fuck with that sometimes. Like that hashtag, like a TV show. Like, I don't know if you ever watched that. What Would You Do?
Yeah.
I would always like hashtag and argue with people about that.
For sure.
So I get that. But with the Bachelor, I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, I did see you're pretty heavy in UFC. You go to the UFC events and all that stuff?
Yeah, I go to, I've got a buddy that will travel a few times a year where I'll book like the flights, the hotel, get the fight tickets and everything. And then he's super big into bars, and he's like a foodie and an alcohol connoisseur. Like I know a lot of guys that just drink a lot, but like he actually knows about alcohol. So he'll kind of scope out and say, these are the restaurants we need to hit. These are the bars we're going to hit. And basically we just go and explore the city and then cap off the week going to fights and just have fun.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I've never seen it live. I always wanted to check it out live. It has to be fucking like electric.
It is amazing. So it's both the best and worst thing ever. So when you're watching on sports, like you can mute it, walk away, do whatever, no big deal. Like if the crowd is being annoying, you just mute it. You don't have to listen to it. If you're there and there's somebody that's just drunk in your ear the whole night, you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
But when you're at an event, and especially like if it's in the main event or if it's for a belt, and you see somebody get knocked out and just 15,000 people losing their minds all at the same time, like you literally, you feel it inside. It's absolutely amazing. One of the coolest experiences was Stipe Miocic is now, again, the UFC heavyweight champ.
Yeah.
When he defended the belt in Cleveland, which is where he's from, I was there when he knocked out Alistair Overeem. That plate, like the roof blew off.
Yeah.
It was one of the coolest sports moments I've ever been a part of. Like that was absolutely incredible.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Shit. I got to check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool, man. So comedy.
Yes.
Where'd you get your start in comedy?
I started in Ohio, obviously well known for comedy, the great state of Ohio.
Yeah.
But actually what had happened, so I was a very fat, very white, very awkward kid. So I got made fun of a whole bunch in school, and I started realizing, okay, man, if I want to get these guys off me, I need to start making jokes, make them laugh. And then in high school, I really started watching stand-up. Comedy Central Friday nights, it would just be like stand-up after stand-up, and I loved it. And then in college, I started writing stuff down, visited a buddy at school in North Carolina, and before we went out one night, they said, we're not going anywhere until you do a 5-minute set in the living room. I was like, okay. So
in front of just your friends?
Yeah, like it was me and 3 friends just hanging out, and they were like, do 5 minutes or we're not going out. And so I wrote stuff out and put stuff together. I did a set in his living room, and my buddies laugh, and they're all jerks. So I was like, okay, if I can make them laugh, maybe this can work. And then came back home, and there was a coffee shop that they have open mics on Fridays, except their open mic is basically all high school kids playing acoustic covers of terrible songs.
Variety mic,
yeah. And then I go up and like, hey guys, I'm going to tell some jokes. Everybody's like, oh God, I don't want to listen to anybody. What is this kid doing? But I did it, and I had fun, and then just started. I performed at my college a couple times, and then branched out. I actually I performed at a club there, and then hooked on with some guys where the main guy, his name is Demetrius Nicodemus. He was a headliner around the country, but then hooked on and was a part of the most popular radio show in the state of Ohio. They had like a 90% share, basically 90% of all the radios in their listening area tuned into their show every morning. Mm-hmm. I started doing guest spots on their shows, doing some skits and sketches with them. And then we all started doing shows together around Ohio and Michigan. So we were just we wouldn't do mics, but they were actual shows and promoting everything ourselves, and a lot of fun. But then I lost my day job.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm doing a show every weekend, but making $50 a weekend isn't really going to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. So then ended up moving to Texas and started all over again.
Oh, wow, man.
Yeah.
So it was like kicking up there, and then you had to like move down here.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Like I was like, oh man, I started thinking like this could actually go somewhere. Like I could hook on, I could be doing a radio show. I could actually make a living doing stand up, but then just have the rug pulled out because I mean, I love doing stand up, but like I said, it's definitely not paying the bills. I just enjoy it on weekends. And then, coming down to Texas so I could actually get a job and starting over. And cool, I'm this white kid that nobody knows. I'm socially awkward. I didn't know how to talk to the other comics. Basically wasn't really getting anywhere. I got to do a couple cool shows through my job. Steve Trevino, who's absolutely hysterical. He's a paid regular out at the Comedy Store. He's got a few different specials out, Netflix, Showtime, just funny dude. I got to work with him a few times. Jesus Trejo, who's another super funny guy. I got to do some shows with them. I'm like, cool, they think I'm funny. This is going to turn into my big thing, and I'm going to advance. And then the next show I did was a bar show at 2 a.m. The host forgot I was even supposed to be performing. She got hammered, forgot she was going to introduce me, and then just did 20 minutes of drunken rambling. I'm like, why am I doing this? And I took a 5-year break because I was like, I'm not getting anywhere, not making any friends in the scene. What's the point in doing this?
And so you took the break when you were still in Ohio, or
no? I took the break here. Like I pushed pretty hard for about 2-3 years. When I first came down, it was just like all that effort with literally no advancement at all. And I was just I was working second shift. My wife's at home, wanted to spend time with her. I'm like, look, I can't keep doing these 2 a.m. shows for 0 people for 0 money and then not actually anything ever come from it. So I was just like, I'm just going to hang it up.
Okay. So how long you been in San Antonio?
San Antonio, I'm coming up on 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you just started back up recently?
Yeah. It was coming up on about 2 months ago. I was just like, you know what? I missed it. Like I love making people laugh. I kept writing everything, but I just wanted to get back into it. So I started going to a few mics, and then it's funny because like I would go, nobody knew me. So there's like, whoever, this guy doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then I started getting laughs. And so you'd see kind of comedians start to turn around and pay attention. And then after my set, they'd come up, hey, you're pretty funny, man. You should go check out this other show or come to this open mic. I'm like, okay. And then from there, now I'm doing 4 mics a week and then going out to the Blind Tiger on Fridays to hopefully catch on there. And then doing shows wherever I can. I did a CBD shop in Pflugerville 2 weeks ago. I don't want to brag.
No,
I don't want everybody to feel bad. But yeah, there were 5 paying customers. So basically, my career is taking off, is what I'm trying to tell you right now.
No, man, you're fucking hilarious though. Like, it looked, when I first saw you, I was like, oh man, this guy's either kind of rusty and stuff. Well, like now, saying that you've been doing it for 13 years, like, fuck, like you just looked like it was natural to you. And I pretty much like, I was like, fuck this guy, man, because you were like really funny, and like it was the first time I seen you, and like you just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you're fucking like destroying at mics, and I was like, man, I don't like this guy.
Yeah, I'll take it.
No, because you're fucking hilarious, man. 13 years.
That.
I mean, I'm not even surprised that you say like 13 years and then taking that long of a break, that 5-year break.
Yeah.
Man, I can't even take 2 weeks off without getting really depressed. And then trying to jump back into it, like it's just like, you can't, for me, I can't after 2 weeks just jump back into it and stuff.
No, I think you're right. And like that was the thing. Like I missed doing it. Like I was sad not doing it, and I wanted to get out. It was a very new experience where I was like, I wasn't used to like not getting reactions or not having people to talk to about comedy. And when you go and do comedy, like it's a community thing. And when you don't feel like you have a community, it's not nearly as fun. So I was just missing that, and to now like have that support, and just like I feel like I've taking that long of a break, like I was just ready to write, ready to try stuff. And now like I kind of take away a little bit of the anxiety and just like, hey, I'm going to go. And if I bomb, oh, well, so what? It happens. Yeah. Eventually I'll do another show and it'll be good. And I want to get back out there to do a good show, because God, bombing at a mic, like even if there are 4 people there, like you still want to kill yourself after the show, because you're just like, well, I am not funny. There's no reason to live anymore. This is terrible. I
know, man. I felt so bad for you last night because you killed at LOL, the showcase. You did 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes, maybe, I don't know. But you fucking killed. And then we went to the elbow room, and there was maybe like 4 people there.
Yeah.
and zero people paying attention.
Yep.
And you're struggling. I mean, we all struggle with that, man. I try to tell a story and like everybody's just rolling their eyes. So I was like, well, I'm not going to do jokes. I was trying to do like work on a storytelling joke. I'm not good at that. And then you go up there and I just use square. Now I feel like such a fucking asshole because I went up to you. I was like, hey, man, just don't give up, dude. And now you've been doing it forever. I'm like, fuck me. Who the fuck am I?
No, but it's true, though, man. Like that, it was terrible because literally, so Potter went up right before me. There were two. So it's, if you don't know what the Elbow Room is, basically it's a small bar and they do open mic, which is really just an opener for karaoke. And it's pretty not crowded to begin with, and then there are literally two people in the audience not sitting at the bar. Potter goes, they both leave. I'm like, there are literally zero people in chairs.
Oh, that's right.
It's just it's four people at the bar, and then the guy running the mic, and I'm just like, oh my god. I said, cool, I'm gonna try it. If I can make any of these people laugh, I'm gonna count that as a win. Nope. That was terrible. But I mean, it's more experience, and I think like it gives you thicker skin.
For sure.
Because you go into it knowing I am going to eat a dick at this mic right now.
Yeah.
And metaphorically for anybody listening, not a literal dick. But yeah, like it's going to be terrible, and you have to feel it and embrace it, and not let it get to you, because if that's how you're judging how talented you are, like telling jokes for four people that are just there to get drunk on a Tuesday night, you're gonna think you're the worst thing ever.
Yeah, for sure, man. So you said with that radio show back in Ohio?
Yeah.
So you just had these shows that you were doing. You weren't really doing the open mics up there?
So we had an open mic. We were close to Bowling Green State University. Shout out Falcons. And we would do, like, it was actually a pretty cool group. Thursday nights we would go up and we'd do like a writing group before, and then we would go up and do a mic, and then we'd kind of review stuff, hang out and drink afterwards. So I would do that on Thursdays, but basically every weekend we were doing a show somewhere in Ohio or Michigan for different audiences, trying to build stuff up. I was actually the one, like, I was essentially managing the Demetrius. I was booking the shows, making sure he was getting rates, stuff like that. I was reaching out to some comedians to try and we would put on like different shows, different features, openers, stuff like that. But yeah, I still did some mics, but honestly, like, I'm from small town Ohio. We've got like 40,000 people. The closest actual club was about an hour away. It is not exactly a happening scene for comedy. Yeah. So, yeah.
How do you think that compares to what you're seeing in San Antonio?
Dude, it's crazy now. Like, even when I first came down, basically you had the LOL open mic on Tuesdays, and then you had the River Center comedy open mic on like Sunday afternoon. Prime time for comedy, by the way. Who doesn't want to hear jokes at Sunday at 1 p.m.? But that was basically it. And then people would just put on random bar shows that you would try and get on. And be like, yeah, cool. Or like bars downtown stuff. But there was nothing really going on. We didn't really, I think the Tiger may have like just opened or something, but I didn't know anybody here. I didn't know how to get on anything here. So there was not a lot going on. Now, I mean, there's a mic somewhere essentially every night. If you want to go up at multiple places, you can go up at multiple places. Like, we're just starting another new mic on Thursday. If you want to go up to San Marcos, they have a bunch of mics there. So now I feel like it's kind of organically grown. Granted, some of the places you go and it's one of those things where I cannot judge myself on this set. Yeah. But there's a microphone and you can hang out with comics. And I think there's a cool group of guys that we support each other and want each other to succeed. We try and make each other better. We give each other crap. Yeah. But like, everybody wants everybody else to succeed, which is cool. Cause like I said, I feel like comedy is a community. And if you have that kind of support, you're all going to make each other better.
Yeah. I think our goal right now is just to make it worthwhile to go out to these shows. So even if there's not like a good crowd, like, we'll still like consider like a workshop type of thing.
For sure.
And we'll still try to like build it up from that and stuff. So show wise, since you got back into it, like, have you been steady with that, or?
I sort of. So basically, I'm doing 4 mics a week now, and then I did Lazy Days in Pflugerville 2 weeks ago, Lazy Days in San Marcos last weekend. I don't have anything booked right now. I'm trying to get on wherever I can. Like if somebody just calls me and said, hey, what are you doing Saturday? I'm like, yes, I will do your show.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where it is or how many people, I'll go and do it. But the next big thing I'm working on, I'm putting together a showcase at Jokesters 22 downtown San Antonio on October 12th. Basically, I want it to kind of be like a welcome back to comedy event kind of for me. Like I've been getting back into it. A ton of people that knew I did comedy, that I do stuff at work where we've got like orientation, but basically it's an hour and a half of work appropriate stand up and crowd work. And yeah, and then I do like a game show as well. I MC a bunch of events and people know me as like, you're that funny guy from work that also does comedy, but you never tell us about shows. So I want this to kind of be like my re-release into the wild of like, hey, y'all have been asking, when am I going to do a show? Like, here it is. And then I'm trying to get funny guys on. I've got to get the list cleared. But there are a lot of guys that I think are super funny. Like I talked to you about this. I think you're super funny, and the kind of humor you have is the kind of humor I appreciate that doesn't always hit at with bar crowds.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's going over their head. But like you write really smart jokes that are super funny, and you're so like understated and super funny. And there's just a lot of guys that I see like that I'm like, man, we need to get these guys a spotlight so people know who they are and build them up and try and get on more shows. So yeah, Saturday, October 12th, 10 p.m. at Jokesters, working on that show.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you saying all that because I have zero confidence in my act, really.
Good. That's where you need to stay, man. Once you get confident, everything's gone.
Yeah, man. I see these people that just go up and like with confidence and stuff. I was like, how do you do that, man? Like,
So I think that's one of the things I've seen about San Antonio is there's a lot of confident people, and not everybody should be that confident.
Agreed. And that's why I'm like, why are you like that? Like you're active shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I've been trying to work on it. I write a lot, and I try to go up as much as possible. I've grown a lot since my first time starting.
When'd you start?
I've only been doing it for like a year and a half.
See, that's the crazy thing. Like, I'm talking to all these guys that I'm like, man, y'all are funny. And then I ask, how long have you been doing? They're like, oh, a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Y'all are barely in. And I think
For
that's,
sure, yeah.
that's the crazy thing. It's like, if y'all are that soon in and you're already that funny, it's going to be just a matter of like, keep writing, figuring out what works, keep going up at mics. And the more you do, the better you're going to get. So by the time like you catch up with these guys that have been doing it for, 10 years, whatever, y'all are going to be killing it and headlining and stuff. And I think that's one of the things that's so exciting is it seems like over the past few years, there have been so many more comics that have just popped up and everybody's getting into it. And again, it's becoming cliche for me, but the more y'all work together, the more you push each other, the better everybody's going to get.
Yeah. How much has your act changed over the years?
Well, I won't say necessarily that my act has changed. It's just more of the same style. Like I'm more of a storyteller. That's just always been kind of the guy I've been, is like, I'll just find a way to tell a story, but I'm awkward. I weighed 350 pounds. I'm terrible with women. And then there are just some things that happen in life that I think are so dumb that I was like, I cannot be the only person that thinks this is this dumb. And so I think it's been more of that, but also I think as I've gotten a little bit older, I've started to feel a little bit more confident probably with what I want to say, because there's stuff like I wouldn't talk about sex like at all, because I was like, oh no, I can't. Oh God. Because I grew up in a super religious house, and like, oh, if you even say sex, you're going to hell.
Oh yeah.
So like I was terrified of talking about that stuff. Now I'm just like, no, that's pretty much a thing everybody does, and they're gonna relate to it. So why not? Screw it, go for it. And just try, like, I'm trying to push myself a little bit more. Also just more life experience, more watching comedy, more doing comedy, and understanding, hey man, if you think something is funny, but you've done the joke 12 times and people don't laugh, that means it's not funny.
Yeah.
Like if you think it's funny, cool. Just say it in your head. Don't say it into a microphone. So starting to take the feedback from the crowd, and it's not to say you do a joke one time and people don't laugh. That doesn't mean give up on it. But if you do it over and over and over, and you've written on it and workshopped it and tried it a ton of different ways, and it's still not getting any laughs, just having the humility to say, okay, cool, give up on that, throw it away.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So you do a lot of stuff at work. So you have the ability to work clean. Because I don't think I've seen a clean set from you.
Yeah. So
So when you go to the mics, you're like, this is when the animal comes out.
Yeah,
But you have the ability to keep it clean at work.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the way I came up, because I was doing, again, basically an acoustic guitar open mic, and then the college I went to was associated with the Church of God, so even the headliners they would bring in, they had to sign a contract saying it would be PG-13 or they wouldn't get paid.
Wow.
So that's how I came up, and then I was a high school teacher for 3 years. You can't swear. The first time I ever did like a club, I said bitch. There was no reason at all. I just added a bitch to it, and I'm like, oh, I'm so edgy. Oh my God. And I'm like, nope, that was stupid. There was no reason to do that. I just wanted to be dark. But yeah, like just doing it at work, kind of with the knowledge of I need this job to pay my bills. And I have like a set thing, because it is like I talk about the job, but like I just weave my comedy in, and then I do some crowd work and just make sure like I keep everything appropriate. And yeah, like some of my stuff is clean, because that's still, again, how I came up. And some of the things you don't need to say words or have that stuff involved. A lot of that stuff is more fun for me. So I was like, and right now I do this because it's fun. Like I don't have a Netflix special. I'm not getting thousands of dollars to do this. It's like, cool, I just want to go up, and if it's fun for me and if it makes people laugh, awesome. So if I challenge myself to like, hey, write 15 minutes of just clean, it would be tough. I think I could get it probably wouldn't be as funny, at least in its original iteration, but I could work on it and get there to do like a feature clean gig.
Yeah. And I don't mean that you're like a dirty comic.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
very, like, you don't cuss a lot, but you do push boundaries and stuff, which is great, because you do have that little nerdy persona type of thing. You know, you remind me of like, you appear to be like a Woody Allen type that watches
without
nothing but BET.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were just going to leave it at Woody Allen. I'm like, yeah, without like, marrying his daughter. But no, because that's the thing. Like I'm this super pasty, nerdy guy that you're like, cool, he probably teaches math for fun.
Yeah.
But then, I talk about hip hop. Like that's how I grew up. Like I grew up super religious household, nothing but church music. There was literally a song about abstinence. And I wasn't allowed to listen to it because it had the word sex in it. I'm like, Mom, it's about not having sex. She's like, I don't care. I'm like, okay. And then we moved to a different neighborhood, and suddenly I've got on one side are these kids that listen to Korn and Limp Bizkit, and then across the street we have a family, and they're listening to Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z, and so now I'm like, oh my God, wait, there's music that's not just about Jesus?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, this is amazing. And so I started listening to that stuff, and that was like my exposure to the outside world. And so that just became natural for me. And I listen to hip hop in my car, and I probably look like an idiot. And everybody freaks out if I ever start rapping along, because I just don't look like that guy. But I'm like, I'm very gangster. You don't understand, but I'm very, very gangster.
Yeah, man, you busted out a rap last night at LOL. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I just love it, and that's how I thought. So like the bit he was talking about is I have Snoop Dogg teach the ABCs, because I just thought about it. I was like, man, we could, because I started really listening to hip hop, and I was in college, and I was going to start teaching, and I started thinking about how I was going to connect with students, and I did my student teaching in like this inner city where the school was like 85% black. And they had me teaching a section about poetry. And I'm like, oh God, I don't even like poetry. And now I got to teach it to 14-year-old kids whose parents make no money. Yeah. They don't care about old dead white dudes rhyming. So I was like, all right, what can I do? And then I was listening to music on the way in. I was like, oh, that's a simile. That's a metaphor. I'm like, oh my God. So I just started pulling lyrics from rap songs to teach them about similes and metaphors. And they're like, when I asked the first one, I'm like, what is that? And they're like, that's a Jay-Z line. I'm like, okay, but is it a simile or a metaphor? And it started clicking with them. And I don't want to be like, oh, you were that cool substitute who said, okay, guys, we're going to do the hip hop. But like, it was just finding a way to connect with students. And so I started to push that more. I'm like, okay, how can I get it even more? Like, how could I push this further? Like, what's going to connect with people?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if Snoop had talked to ABCs, that would have been so much cooler. I'm like, wait a minute. I could make Snoop Dogg teach the ABCs. And that's how I think about stuff. And I think it's cool for me to see the crowds, because I talk about essentially how white I am.
Yeah.
And then I start doing hip hop jokes, and to see the crowd go, oh my God, what just happened to him? Is that the same guy? That's one of the most fun things for me.
Yeah, you catch them off guard.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a hard time getting that approved by the school? Like that you're gonna bring in rap instead of bringing in like books and stuff?
No, I told him, and actually when I ended up getting my teaching job with my freshmen, we put into the curriculum that we were teaching Tupac's poetry.
Wow.
Yeah, because they were like, man, it works. Like, if you can connect basically anything to the state has a list of requirements. Like, these are the skills they have to learn in this class. You can make anything fit that stuff.
Okay.
And so we said, all right, what's going to connect with them? And Tupac released poetry, and we're like, that'll be great. And then I talked to my teacher when I was student teaching, my supervisor, and I told her about my idea, and she's like, I think that could work. Just, obviously don't have any swearing or sexual anything, whatever. I'm like, that's fine, but I'll pull this stuff in. And when she saw the kids getting into it and like talking about it in class, she's like, oh my God, this is great. It's like, yeah, school can actually be kind of fun if you try to connect with the students. And I think a lot of people don't do that. And that's always been my philosophy, is kind of understanding your audience and then play to the audience. And I think that's why I do so much crowd work. Like, the way my brain works, I can't, if somebody reacts to something, I have to then react to their reaction. Mm-hmm. And that's why, like, I'll start kind of conversations or comment on something that's going on in the audience, and it stretches out my set. And then sometimes I'll take something from it. I'm like, that's fantastic. And it just becomes a part of my set. Mm-hmm. But it's, if you can connect with the audience, regardless of what your job is, if you're doing stand-up, whatever it is, if you can connect with the audience, it's going to go so much better.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. That's pretty cool. Said I had a question I was going to ask you. Who are some of your influences? Or like your comedy? Has it always been like clean comedy, even like with the music and stuff?
No.
Who are some of your comedy influences?
So the very first influence was Robin Williams. I loved watching his movies, and then I found out he did stand-up, and I listened to that, and I'm like, oh, but he says dirty words. And then my dad had some Steve Martin records. And then when I got to high school, Lewis Black, like I wanted to be Lewis Black. And he does this thing where he like points at people and he just gets really loud. And I wanted to do that so bad, and I would try it. And then I was like, nah, I'm not that angry.
Yeah.
The first time I heard, Brian Regan live, that record killed me. Like, I literally fell out of my chair laughing so hard. And that was I think that's really when it sunk in. I could do this, because he's up here talking about Little League baseball and being dumb and like having a bunch of brothers and terrible car and like all this stuff. I'm like, people are laughing at this super weird stuff that you would never think to talk about. I was like, man, I could do this. And then I literally just started consuming everything. I watched Chappelle. I was like, oh my God, like he is absolutely amazing at this. Whoever was on Jim Gaffigan, I was like, okay, he's weird too. Like when I started seeing guys that talk about stuff that most people don't talk about, that's when I really started to realize there is an audience for everyone. If you think it's funny, absolutely somebody else thinks it's funny. And so I just started writing down whatever I thought was funny.
Yeah. What's one of your most embarrassing moments on stage?
Most embarrassing moments on stage was probably, so I was doing the open mic at the coffee shop, and I had a joke where I talk about I love older women, not only because they can take their teeth out, but also because they know where they're going in life, the funeral home. And there were only about 15 people there, and 10 of them were probably over 80.
Oh.
And they just stared at me, and like one of them just kind of shook their head. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
And it was because it was them. They were pissed. And then you have the other people that are just like looking back and forth between us and like, that's embarrassing. And I hated that moment so much. It was not ideal.
Yeah. So growing up, you said that your parents were very strict about what you can listen to and all that stuff.
Yep.
Have they seen your comedy?
A little bit.
Yeah.
They've never seen me like my mom lives in Ohio, and I had posted on Facebook asking like, hey guys, if I do this show, would y'all want to check it out? And my mom's like, I'll come down and see it. I'm like, no, you will not. There is stuff I absolutely don't want you to see. They've seen me do some shows and like stuff that they think is like super edgy. Meanwhile, I'm like, okay, this is like my tame stuff.
Yeah.
Cause yeah,
I do that at work.
yeah. I would absolutely tell that to my other managers. They'd think it's hilarious. But my mom was like, oh, I don't like that joke at all.
Wow.
So yeah, some of my new stuff I very much would not want her to see.
Yeah. But do they know that you are kind of an edgy?
Probably not. Oh, I mean, if my mom listens to this now, she will. But probably not. I'm sure she knows. Like I have said a few foul words around her. Mm-hmm. But I don't think she's gonna expect to hear me talking about licking butts or anything like that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure she knows there's a little bit more to me than just what she's seen.
What's your writing process like? Like, do you consider that? Do you consider like who you don't want to offend? Like, would my mom appreciate this, or would she?
So not so much my mom anymore. There are some things where like I was in. It's not necessarily stand-up, and this is how I knew I missed stand-up so much. There's a thing called Toastmasters. It's basically like a public speaking club.
Yeah.
And they had a humorous speech contest, and basically they said, imagine that the audience is your grandparents. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, so I should do just racist jokes? Or, and they're just like, it just has to be like the cleanest anything ever. I'm like, okay, so that, like, I really thought about my audience. Now it's just, do I think this is funny? Mm-hmm. And then I'll bounce things off of other comics, because sometimes they'll be like, yeah, that's funny, or that could be funny, but you need to work on it, or nope, that's absolutely terrible. Yeah. So I try to write for me, and then there may be some things where, like, even at the LOL, like, I'll look out at the crowd and you kind of have to make assumptions on, okay, this is the makeup of the crowd. This is, maybe I'll tailor it a little bit this way, or you just watch the show before, because you can tell so much about the crowd by watching the other comics. Because if you see them do jokes that kill everywhere else and then they fall flat, you're like, okay, this is a tight crowd. Or if there's stuff where, like, I've done shows with guys, I'm like, this guy's not very funny, but then everything he's saying is hitting. I'm like, this is going to be an extremely fun crowd. Like, they're here to have a good time. They're here to laugh. Or, like, they're laughing at jokes about, like, what's in the news right now. Or when somebody's like, hey, even right now, like, hey, what do you guys think about Epstein? And then everybody's just silent. Like, that was only 2 weeks ago. But some people are, like, just completely past it. So if you pay attention to what's going on before you, you can kind of think about, okay, this is the stuff, I'm going to keep this, or I'll sub this in, or shorten this, or I just won't ask that kind of thing. But it really helps. So I don't think, during my writing process, I don't think about the audience, but when I'm actually performing, I definitely try and think about the audience.
Yeah. I've been trying to work a little bit more clean, trying to write a little bit more clean. I'm just not that clever to make clean, funny comedy, you know? Like, I talked to a clean comic, an open micer, and he's like, yeah, man, just act like your mom's in the audience. But my mom's gone to one of my shows, and so she's seen me say some of the worst stuff, you know? Like, my mom's not really strict about cussing. Like, I just can't curse at her.
For sure.
You know, but she's heard very bad things. So, I mean, that doesn't help.
Yeah. I did a show a while back, like when I had come down, and my boss and his wife were there, and I couldn't see them. I didn't know where they were sitting, but I knew they were going to be at the show. And I'd been getting heckled all night. Like, all the comics had been getting heckled all night by this woman. And then, like, I'd kind of been like, okay, feel free to shut up and all this stuff. And then towards the end of my set, I just, like, look, C word, shut up. The entire audience was like applauding and all this stuff. And then I found out after the show, that was my boss's wife.
Oh, no way.
And I was like, well, this is probably the day I get fired. And he was just like, no, she deserved it. She should have shut up. Maybe don't use the C word anymore. I'm like, you are correct.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was one of those things where I'm like, this is, and it did get the crowd, because when you're that annoying, going to that level of extreme sometimes can get them. But that's, again, there were times where I would try stuff again just to be edgy or just to like push the boundaries or whatever. And I think that's one of the things with maybe my maturity where I'm like, I don't have to do this stuff. Like, the audience is going to know, like, that's not who that guy is. Like, he's putting on a show. Yeah. They're not going to buy it because I'm clearly not that guy. Like, I am a beta male. I have no problem with that at all. Yeah. I'm a nerdy white kid. Cool. No problem. I'm not going to try and force a tough guy act or anything. But yeah, that was definitely an awkward moment for me.
So do you have like do you sit down and like plan out any like long-term, short-term goals? And like, what do you have on that?
So I think when I got back into it, honestly, my first goal was just get back up in front of a microphone and tell jokes, because it had been so long. And honest to God, like, I would sit at home and just be terrified of, I'm not funny. Like, Ohio was just, there were people supporting me, or I got lucky and you're not actually funny and the new stuff isn't going to be funny. And there's no point doing it. So just don't. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I just need to get up in front of a mic, get it out of the way. And then whatever happens, happens. That was my first goal. Then it was, okay, keep going. Then it became, oh, this feels good. And like, people are laughing and talking to me. Then it became, all right, you've already got this stuff. And I was trying basically a different set every week to see how much I had. So after I did like 4 weeks of almost exclusively different stuff every week, I was like, okay, I've actually got a decent amount of time now. Build to having 25 minutes and do a feature set by the end of this year. That became my goal for this year. And then I said, by the end of next year, do a headlining set. And have between 45 minutes and an hour of material. And that's really what I'm striving for, and I'm keeping writing. I've actually already done, I call it, if you want to call it headlining, like, finishing a show doesn't necessarily really mean you headlined. Yeah. But like, I look at it as where like I featured at the end of a show. So like I look at it as I've already done a feature set, but I want to keep pushing. My goal for next year is still have an hour and do a headlining set, like, to show myself, like, you're still writing, you're still funny, you can do this. And then just get up and to me, it's not an Everest to do an hour, but that's a monumental thing in my head, because I freak out about like how long, and thinking, okay, if people don't laugh, it's a much shorter set, or if people don't interact, it's a much shorter set. So the idea of I have to entertain however many hundreds of people for an hour straight, where I'm the only thing going on, I think I've built it up so much in my head that it's this monumental task. And so I really want to do that next year, to say, I did an hour. Yeah. That's no longer a thing. Then it becomes, cool, now I know I have an hour. Now make this the best hour possible, and then get it to a point where somebody sees it and be like, hey, you know what? I want to book you not in San Antonio. I want to bring you up to Houston or Dallas, or, you know what? We want you to do this festival or something like that. Or touring comic sees me. He's like, look, you're not going to do an hour, but why don't you come feature for me in a different city? Something like that, to where I'm just making it, I want to feature, I've done it. Now I want to do headline, and then just make it the best headline set I can make it, essentially.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, you don't really deal with social media. You said you're really not active on like Instagram or Twitter and stuff. Yeah. Like, you don't think that that's kind of important to kind of like get your name out there, get yourself recognized?
Absolutely, it is. I am very bad at setting an example of what you should be doing. Yeah. But I think it's also kind of, for me, I know I'm just getting back out there. Like, that was the big thing when I went to open mics, and everybody's like, hey, what's your website? Or, you know, what videos do you have out there? I'm like, I don't have anything right now, because My focus is just getting out to mics or just getting more jokes. Like, I don't want to set up this huge social media presence when I think I'm still not that good.
Damn, man, like you're wrong, man. Like you're really a top performer, like already.
I appreciate it, man.
And that's not me knowing that you've been doing it for 13 years. I thought you had just came up on the scene out of nowhere.
Well, then in that case, I just started 2 months ago. I wrote my first joke, so I'm very lucky at this.
No, I think it's important though. I think like with me, like a lot of people jump right into it. They start YouTube pages. They like change their bio and all that stuff. I'm not a comedian. I'm a podcast host that does open mics and sometimes does shows.
Yeah.
Like I keep it realistic, but I still know the importance of having a social media presence.
Yeah.
And I do it with the podcast. I push the podcast, and then, oh, by the way, I'm doing a comedy set at this place, that or the other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I think it is very important, you know, especially because the open mics or the shows, they're not really in heavy foot traffic, you know, so you got to figure out a way to get people. You need a hashtag. You need to, you know, tag people, tag places, you know, so people could find it. Like people know about the podcast, but they've never heard it just because of the image that I use and the hashtags that I use.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still haven't figured out the science of that, but I know that it is a very important tool to promote yourself.
Yeah, and social media is so much more important. And everybody makes fun of me like I'm an old man. Like I was born an old man. Like I was probably yelling, "Get off my lawn" at 5. Like I know it's important. I don't even really know how Instagram works. Like I have it. I have like 12 followers, not to brag. I've never posted anything, and I think my fear was like if I put all of this into social media and then, oh hey, I don't have any shows coming up, or I'm not really doing anything, or I'm not active on it. Like, what's the point of doing it? I know you need to get yourself out there. And I think once, I go back to, I didn't really feel ready. Now that I'm starting to get on some shows and I'm doing a little bit more and people are starting to see me, I know I'm going to need to do that stuff to kind of build any kind of following. I think for me, like, honestly, I didn't really look at myself as being that big of a deal. I was just like, I just want to go hang out with friends, tell some jokes, and hopefully people laugh. But now that I'm getting a little bit of traction, again, 5 paid customers in Pflugerville, Texas.
Yeah.
So
well, 5 in Pflugerville is very good.
Oh, well, in that case, yeah, I'll just quit my job. But like, yeah, now that I'm actually starting to do stuff, like I know, because I did have somebody like, hey man, like, what do you do on Instagram? Because I know like you've got guys like Kabaza, he's got a couple different podcasts, he's putting clips on Instagram. Like, dude's super funny. He's doing a lot of big stuff in San Antonio, and I think that's what people are thinking, like everybody is doing this stuff. I'm like, damn, I don't have any of that. So now I'm thinking about like, okay, what do I need to start doing? How do I get myself out there? So I know I'm going to have to, except I feel like I'm going to go to a social media for beginners class with a bunch of grandparents at the Y or something like that and have to learn how to use Instagram because I am a very old man. I don't know how this stuff works.
I don't think it's that scary. It's not as scary. Like I don't really know how to use Twitter all that much. I'm still getting used to that, but like a lot of people don't use Twitter around here.
The spelling is difficult, man.
Yeah, the spelling. But yeah, it is kind of weird how like you don't have that social media. I think you need to. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know.
I'll give myself homework.
Yeah,
I'll make a post.
It would help you, man, because like you are funny. You are one of those that are I think you're ready to do headlining spots.
I appreciate that.
You already have you almost have like 30, 45 minutes.
The show I did this past weekend, I recorded at 27 minutes, and I know there's stuff I forgot, and then looking back, and then I'm like, oh, I haven't put this stuff in yet. If I've got a good crowd and they're being interactive and they're laughing. Right now, I might be able to stretch to 45. I'm comfortable. If somebody tells me you're doing half an hour, I'm like, cool, I can do that. 45.
Half an hour, you're cool with already?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. As long as if the crowd's into it. If they told me to do half an hour at the Elbow Room, I couldn't do it because I need something from the crowd to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like at a good club or a fun room, stuff like that, I could for sure do half an hour.
Well, the Elbow Room does have good shows. Like I just did one a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But when it's set up for a show, when people know like we're doing a show, not just
open mic Tuesday at the Elbow Room, I could not do half an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
The packed house show at Elbow Room, I could do half an hour.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I have a solid 10. I could stretch it to 20, but that's that's it.
Yeah.
Like if somebody said half an hour, I was like, no, man, I honestly can't do it. Yeah. But some people would take it, and
sure.
even if they don't have half an hour.
That's the interesting thing to see people that I'm like, man, you bit off way more than you can chew, or like people that feel, and I think that's the other side of the coin where you're talking about like putting yourself out there. I feel like some people are like, if I have a hashtag, but I'm not funny, I'm successful. Or like if I say I've got all this stuff, but it's not actually good, then, well, I've got an hour of material. I'm like, yeah, but if 3 minutes of it is good, it doesn't matter how long it is. No. And I think that was kind of my fear, is like, I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. Like I wanted to make sure everything's in place. I know, again, now that I'm starting to do some things, I need to get more involved. I just didn't want to run before you walk kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So you're not really thinking about like album recordings or even doing a YouTube type of thing?
No way. I think I'm not worried I think I'm really good at starting and finishing sentences. Yeah, like I'm not super worried about an album. Like if that day ever comes, and that was kind of the thing of like, I'm not even headlining right now. So I'm definitely not worried about that. Even when I start headlining, it might be an hour, but it's not going to be a great hour. Yeah, it might be like a good hour and I get laughs and things are good and I make a couple $100, whatever, here and there. But I want it to be the best it can possibly be, because I don't need an album. Like that's not a big thing for me. I just want to make people laugh and I want to be proud of what I put out. And I don't need to, oh, hey, check out my album on iTunes. I sold 15 copies. Like that's not like a huge thing for me, so I'm not going to push it. If I get there one day, that would be absolutely amazing, but I'm not in a big rush. Like if I were to do a YouTube channel, I think I've been talking with some of the other comics, like some guys want to do sketches, or doing like the off the cuff show at the Tiger on Sundays. Like that kind of stuff is fun, and I think that might be fun. Or like I've talked about doing like a poker night with comics, or playing like Cards Against Humanity with comics, stuff like that, where it's not just stand up, but doing things with other funny people. I think that would be cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw that. Like everybody's like about the Chappelle and the Bill Burr on Netflix, which were fucking great. I think I like Bill Burr more than I like Chappelle.
Okay.
Like the specials, the last specials. Yeah. I think Bill Burr was like really tight, no like filler. Chappelle was just kind of like, he was kind of playing with the crowd type of thing. Left some spaces in between there, but pissed off a lot of people for sure.
Yes.
I thought it was funny. But I just saw today that Andrew Schultz, he's a comic out of New York.
Yep.
He released a special, like a crowd work special.
Yeah.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
Like all he's promoting that, pushing that, trying to get views. Because I mean, I don't know how YouTube money works and stuff. Yeah. But I mean, he's just like, nobody else is fucking with me. I'm just gonna put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's fucking great. I mean, it was a half hour, just crowd work stuff. Nothing Netflix worthy, I guess. I mean, it could have been. He's funny. He's very quick. But yeah, man, like people take advantage of that stuff. Like they know, like maybe the Netflix bubble has popped. So now they're just like, well, let's just fuck with YouTube.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it depends on who it is and what they're trying to do, what their goal is. Like I think that's the big thing for Schultz, is like he has done it like all on his own. Like nobody's brought him under his wing. Yeah. It's completely independent. And I think for a lot of people, like you look at bands that they're realizing, I don't need to sign to a major label. Yeah. Like I can make my own stuff. I can release it myself. I keep all the profits. I can put up my own tours. Like I'm not going to be selling out stadiums, but I can have complete control over everything, still have a good time, and still make money. Like I think that's a really cool thing to do. And I mean, you do look at Netflix, and it was like, it seemed like every 3 hours a new stand-up special was coming out. Like, oh, people have ever heard your name. You're not even a comedian, but you're a celebrity. Have an hour stand-up special. Yeah, like that to me, you're oversaturating, and you're starting to make people like, this is all stand-up can be. And that was. Honestly, I hate seeing it. I know I'm not the target audience for everything, and there are people that were super stoked and think it's absolutely hilarious and like, cool, that's not for me. It was good to see more people have opportunities, but I mean, there are so many people that you would just a normal person would have absolutely no clue who they are, but they're hilarious. And like if they had an hour on Netflix, like I would watch that thing on repeat, but you're not gonna go watch it at all, or nobody knows who they are. It's the same thing. Like I performed. One of those guys for me is Chad Thornsberry. He's a guy I opened for back in Ohio. Dude's hysterical, and he talked about it like where he opened, I think, for Pauly Shore, and somebody came up to him after the show and said, "Man, you were hilarious. You should have headlined." He's like, "What's my name?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What's my name?" I'm like, I don't know.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Exactly. You don't even know my name, but you know Pauly Shore. That's who puts butts in seats.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. Like you're going to recognize names, and that's the thing I've heard a lot about San Antonio. If a big name comes here, they'll sell out. Somebody could be the funniest person alive, but you don't know who they are, the club will be empty.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, yeah, you have, and then now you've got Chappelle just dropped, Burr is dropping, Eddie Murphy is coming. Like, now you're having like these legends come out with this stuff. I'm like, that's what I want more of. I'm not saying put out like 9 specials at once, but seeing these, like, these are titans of what we enjoy doing. To see them come out at like the height of their game, that I don't need all the other filler. Like, just give me that.
Yeah. And to be honest, like, those were the only 2 that I watched from start to finish. The hour special.
Yep.
Because who really has time for that? And sometimes I check out, and that's why, like, they also do like 30 minutes on Netflix, 30-minute specials.
Yeah.
And they have like even one with 15 minutes. And I mean, I think that's awesome. I mean, because like you're utilizing all that time, you're keeping their attention.
Yep.
Because I don't know how they do like the what is it, the how they could tell when people check out.
Yeah, like stop. The auto. Are you still watching? And then the auto play and stuff like that.
Yeah, algorithms and all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, like but they were watching that, and they knew that people check out after 15 minutes.
Yep.
People check out after 30.
Yep.
So yeah, man, like maybe more short specials.
That would be interesting, and that's why I liked like Premium Blend on Comedy Central.
Yeah,
where it was
that
just
vibe back.
Yeah, it was like 3 short sets in half an hour, and so you get these little chunks, and it's like an open mic feature set essentially. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's really cool, because people's attention spans are so short now that it's a really cool idea. Like, you don't need an hour of a lot of these people. Like, give me 15. It's like we talked about earlier. Like, you're saying, I could go 10, I could stretch to 20. If you tell me to do half an hour, like, I can't do it. I feel like some of these people, like, if you tell them do 15 minutes, they will kill for those 15 minutes. But you put that out over an hour, and it's like, oh, stop, man. You can't fill this up.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, man, this was a lot of fun, dude.
Yeah.
Any shout outs? Anybody that you want to say shout out to? Any sponsors that you may have on Twitter?
I wish.
The Bachelor.
Yeah. Hey. Chris Harrison. If you listen to this, if you want to put me on Bachelor in Paradise, let's do it. I need a vacation to Mexico. No, shout out to everybody in the 419. No, the Monday Micers, everybody out there. Joey putting them on. Justin, Adrian, Patrick, Joe. Like, everybody that. Shout out to essentially everybody that's just going out there having fun and trying to get better. Like, that's what this is about to me. Like, we're not all going to be famous, but let's be the best we can be.
Yeah, especially Joey Smith. Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
he needs to quit comedy.
That son of a bitch.
Sure.
Terrible.
It's horrible. But he runs the Money Mic, so he's all right.
Yeah.
Again, and your plugs, how do people find you?
Oh, yeah. Jeremy Brown, Fune, Jeremy Brown Fun E on Twitter or the Gram. You can look me, I'm just Jeremy Brown on Facebook. I've got privacy settings because I've got a big boy job. But if you're attractive, I will accept your friend request.
All right, man. Thanks for doing this. I'll see you around.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Thanks for having me.
Laters. Shout outs to CBDB, shout out to 10-4 Minuto y Mas, and also shout out to Ugly Head and He Was Oxy Scored for letting us use the music for the intro and outro of the episode. All right, I'll see y'all next week. Thank you very much.